everyone, Devine here. Hope you're doing fabulous as always. So guys, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the paradox of life. Now, I don't know if this will be such a motivational type of a video or just a knowledge-based video because, realistically, I just think it's something that we need to know and understand in order for us to achieve our goals, in order for us to be successful in life, because, life is not always what it seems. So what is a paradox? That's the first thing. A lot of people think a paradox is the exact opposite of, something else, which it is to a certain degree, but it's more than that. It's an opposite with the same end result. And a lot of people don't look at it like that. And I think it's important that we understand, what is a paradox. So in other words, the more I live, the closer I am to dying, right? That's a paradox. The more I live, the closer I am to dying. And when we look at life, you need to look at it and that everything that you see basically is a paradox to a certain degree. It's like we have a loving God, but he also loves us enough to let us make mistakes and screw up and be, jerk offs and everything else. And yet at the same point in time, he's a loving God, but he also, was about to destroy the world because of, it was so filled with sin and hate and everything else. So, if we look at God in a sense that if God is paradox, then we are paradoxes. And we have to understand that life in general is a paradox. When you look at people, for example, if you look at people who are typically quiet, they will generally have the loudest minds. In other words, they think the most. They're the people who are always have something going on in their head. It's like me. I'm actually pretty introvert for the most part, but my brain never, ever stops going. I mean, it's insane. It's the reason it takes me a half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes a couple hours to fall asleep because my brain just won't ever stop. And I think this is important in life, especially if you want to be successful, because the paradox of success is not looking at where you want to be. You have to look past where you want to be in order to get to where you want to be. So if your goal is to be a multimillionaire, then you should be striving to be a multi-billionaire, right? If your goal is to own a company, then your goal should actually be to own a multinational company. That's just the way life has to work in order for you to understand it. You have to really also look at life in a certain situations and find out, why things are happening the way they're happening. And when you really look at this, you need to look at different facets of life. Like you look at this whole BLM movement that's happening here, and it's to curb racism, but it's done in racism. You see the paradox of it? You can't look at things the way they are. It's a reason you see so many divorces and unhappy people in Hollywood, because they might have all the money in the world, but yet they're poor in spirit, they're poor in culture, they're poor in love. It's a thing that we as humans really need to understand. Another good paradox. well, not almost, every dictatorship, communist country in the world started off with them telling people that they were going to give them freedom. They were going to give them free healthcare, free speech, yada, yada, yada. And at the end of the day, the only thing that was free for them was to shut up. You know, I mean, you really need to start to look at life. I wanted to bring this out because where the world is today and the things that are happening in the world today, you need to look at the paradox of it. You really do, because there's a lot more going on in the world than meets the eye. And until you are able to look at it and say, wait a second, what is really going on here? You know, come on, buddy, get over. Anyways, this guy put on his blinker and then he won't get over. I mean, come on. Anyways, but so, see, the paradox is he put on his blinker, but yet he won't move. All right, anyways, back to reality here. So anyways, it's important for us to understand what's really happening. And I think until you understand that life is a paradox, you can't understand what is truly going on behind the scenes. And you can't really understand why things are happening and what is the end goal of what's happening. This is a reason you'll hear me tell you guys all the time that, you know, don't ever look at somebody and think, well, you know what? They're successful. They must be happy. Because that doesn't mean that they're happy. It doesn't mean they're happy at all. A lot of times the people who look happy on the outside are the people who are hurting the most on the inside. So don't ever look at somebody. I mean, I've heard stories of people who have gone up to people that, you know, outwardly looking, big houses, big cars, you know, look like they're doing absolutely phenomenal, and God lays it on someone's heart to go, you know, bring them some groceries. Well, what they didn't know is that that person was literally broke at that point in time and didn't have food to put on the table without selling the car or something along those lines. And so it's really important for us to keep an open heart and open mind and understand that life is a paradox and that everything isn't always what it seems, even though it might seem that way. You know, good is evil. You know, you really can't have good without evil. You can't have darkness without light, right? I mean, it's just what it is. And we as individuals need to look at what's happening in this world right now, and we need to make decisions how we can improve it. But how can we improve it if we don't understand it? And that's why I wanted to make this short little video today, to help people to understand that there's more that's going on in life. There's more that's going on in the world than meets the eye. And we as individuals have the opportunity to make an impact on this world, but only if you understand it. Only if you're willing to try to change it, you know? And that's the thing, guys. So many people don't want to change the world. They're happy with being controlled, manipulated by other people, by the governments. You know, how ironic is it that, you know, governments try to govern people, but the United States, for example, was governed. The main thing that the reason these people created it is so that the government wouldn't be governing the people necessarily. It would be governing, you know, small government where it had its roles, but the people were free. And if you look at it right now, not only here in the United States, I mean, this is a global thing that's happening, but you just got to understand the paradox of what is happening in the world and in your life. And you have to, this is the main thing, guys. If you don't understand the paradoxes in your own life, you can't understand the paradoxes in the world. So until you can understand, why am I acting like this? And what can I do to change it? Right? You have to understand that, all right, why do I portray that I'm phenomenal outwardly when secretly inside I'm in so much pain? And until you can be open and honest with yourself first, it's going to be hard to be open and honest about life, about what's happening in, to, through, and around you. But like I said, I mean, this wasn't going to be a big motivational video. I just think it's something that needs to be told. It's something that we need to understand. So when we look at what's happening in our lives, what's happening in our world, what's happening to our friends, and understand that life is not always what it seems, you know, and that just because, you know, I'm living life doesn't mean I'm not dying. If that makes sense. And I hope it makes sense to you people. I hope you're understanding where my heart is in this, because I really do think it's important that when you look at it, that you understand that life is a paradox, and that once you understand that, you can become more successful, more at peace, have more love in your heart, and understand that, you know, there's a better option for life, as long as I know how to move through it and into it. Okay? Anyways, guys, hope you got something out of this short little video. As always, you know I'm here to give you that spirit of increase, because I know if I give you that spirit of increase, we can change this world one person at a time. As always, guys, make sure you create yourselves a fabulous day.